The D.B. Cooper hijacking, America's only unsolved case of air piracy. On November 24, 1971, a man walked onto Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 with a briefcase containing what he claimed was a bomb, and then he simply disappeared with $00000 in cold hard cash, never to be found. To this day, nobody knows who D.B. Cooper actually was, and the case remains one of the most compelling mysteries in American criminal history. I'm going to walk you through the events of that day, the investigation that followed, and the strange legacy of a crime that still captures our imagination 50 years later. This is the true story of the most audacious skyjacking ever committed on American soil. Let's rewind to the morning of November 24, 1971. It was the day before Thanksgiving, peak travel season. Northwest Orient Airlines was running flights all over the Pacific Northwest, shuttling families and travelers to their holiday destinations. On this particular morning, a man purchased a one-way ticket on Flight 305 from Seattle to Tacoma for just $0. He paid cash. His name, according to the ticket, was Dan Cooper. He was polite to the ticket agent, completely unremarkable. Nobody would remember him if what happened next hadn't made him unforgettable. The passenger was described as being in his mid-40s, wearing a dark business suit, a black tie, and sunglasses. He carried a briefcase and a paper bag. He looked like he could have been any businessman catching a flight on a busy holiday travel day. He chose a seat in the back of the aircraft, near the rear stairs, a detail that would later seem far too convenient to be coincidence. Northwest Orient Flight 305 departed Seattle at 2:50 p.m. with 36 passengers, 2 pilots, 4 flight attendants, and 1 flight attendant named Florence Schaffner. About 30 minutes into the flight, somewhere over southwestern Washington, Cooper opened his briefcase. Inside, according to his claims, was a bomb. He showed it to Schaffner. It contained what appeared to be dynamite wired to a battery with a timer. He told her in a calm, polite voice, "Miss, I have a bomb here." What followed was an extraordinary act of restraint and professionalism from everyone involved. Cooper made his demands clearly. He wanted $00000 in zero bills in 4 parachutes. He was specific about denominations and the condition of the bills. He wasn't interested in causing a bloodbath. He wanted money and a way out. The pilots contacted air traffic control. Federal agents were notified immediately. Law enforcement mobilized. This was about to become a federal case. The airline's leadership made a decision that seems almost unthinkable today. They were going to meet his demands. In fact, Northwest Orient had a policy that recommended cooperating with hijackers. The company valued human life over money. By 5:24 p.m., law enforcement had gathered $00000 in the denominations Cooper requested. They would later record every single serial number. Meanwhile, Cooper remained remarkably calm. He didn't make threats beyond his initial claim about the bomb. He didn't demand to speak to the media. He didn't make political statements. He just wanted the money and the parachutes. When the plane landed in Seattle at 5:39 p.m., FBI agents and law enforcement surrounded it. The airline delivered a duffel bag containing the cash and a container with the 4 parachutes. Cooper released all the passengers and 2 flight attendants in exchange, keeping only the flight attendant Florence Schaffner, the pilot, co-pilot, and 1 other flight attendant with him. He then did something that still defies logic. He lowered the rear stairs of the 727 aircraft, which was moving at approximately 200 miles per hour, about 10,000 feet in the air. Somewhere over southwestern Washington, near the Oregon border, in the darkness of the evening, with a duffel bag full of cash strapped to his body, D.B. Cooper jumped out of the back of a moving airplane. Nobody saw him. Nobody knew exactly where he landed. He simply vanished into the night. The FBI immediately launched one of the largest manhunts in American history. They called it NORJAK, Northwest Hijacking. Agents flooded the Pacific Northwest, searching for any sign of the man or the money. They interviewed everyone involved multiple times. They analyzed every detail. They checked airports, border crossings, and known safe houses. They had descriptions. They had the serial numbers of every single bill. They even had partial fingerprints lifted from the aircraft. But Cooper had left them with almost nothing to work with. Years turned into decades. The FBI investigated thousands of leads. They followed suspects, some more promising than others. In 1980, 8 years after the hijacking, a young boy named Brian Ingram was playing along the Columbia River when he discovered 800 of the original ransom money partially buried in the sand. The bills matched Cooper's serial numbers perfectly. The discovery revived the investigation, but it also deepened the mystery. If Cooper had jumped with the money, why was only a fraction of it ever found? In 2016, the FBI officially suspended its active investigation into D.B. Cooper. After 45 years and countless hours of work, the case remained unsolved. The FBI believed they would likely never know the true identity of the man who committed the only unsolved case of air piracy in commercial aviation history. They didn't have enough evidence to charge anyone beyond reasonable doubt. Over the years, various suspects have been proposed. Richard Floyd McCoy Jr. committed a similar hijacking just a few months later, but authorities determined he wasn't Cooper. Robert Rackstraw, a former Army paratrooper, was investigated for decades. Lynn Cooper claimed her late ex-husband, Robert Forey, was D.B. Cooper, but there was no concrete evidence. Dan Guthrie, Richard Lepowich, and dozens of other men have been suspected, but none of their cases ever reached court because the evidence wasn't there. What made D.B. Cooper different from other criminals was his restraint. He didn't want to hurt anyone. He was polite. He was patient. He planned meticulously. He executed a crime that should have been impossible, jumping from a moving aircraft in the dark with a parachute he'd never tested, and he apparently got away with it. Or did he? The fact that so little of the money was ever recovered, that no one ever claimed to know who he was, that he never reappeared in any meaningful way, suggests that either Cooper didn't survive the jump, or he truly disappeared perfectly. The truth is, we don't know. We may never know. D.B. Cooper remains one of American crime's greatest mysteries. He's become a folk hero of sorts, the criminal who outsmarted the system, who got away when nobody thought it was possible. There's something almost romantic about it, if you can call a hijacking romantic. The audacity, the planning, the impossible escape. What's remarkable is that it was only possible in 1971. You couldn't do this today. Aircraft security has changed fundamentally. The rear stairs on 727s are no longer accessible. Passengers are screened. Cockpit doors are reinforced. But on November 24, 1971, for one brief moment, a man named D.B. Cooper, if that was even his real name, managed to pull off something that still seems almost impossible. So what do you think happened to D.B. Cooper? Do you believe he survived the jump, or did he perish in the darkness over Washington? Do you have a theory about who he really was? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let me know what you think about this incredible case.